Welcome to the third video of the chapter Societal Impacts. Today we are going to discuss about a common word or a word which you are aware of, that is plagiarism and licensed software. Okay. Now plagiarism is not a new thing to you. You have already done in between the assignments completion sections. Copying some others pages or say work which is already published and producing it as our own. That is what is plagiarism is all about. So we don't have to explain it further, but still a technical definition is required. So let's watch that. Okay. All right, let me just go with the page up. You have here plagiarism's definition. It's an act of presenting the words, ideas, images, sounds or the creative expression of others as it is your own creation or as it is your creation or your own. So it can be a section of a paragraph, it can be any kind of an inventional ideas, images or even a sound, that is even the music. Sound means sound, background music, background score, something like that. Any kind of creativity which has already been done by somebody, if we copy paste and do that and if you claim to be yours, that is called plagiarism. And the word is derived from the Latin word plagiaria, which means kidnap or abduct. So you should know how what vulnerability you have in that word. Now why is it important to understand plagiarism? Now, since here you are doing any kind of copy pasting for your assignment works and all, nobody is going to question you. Only thing is that you will get some blasting from your teacher. But as you move on to the college, and if they are giving you any kind of work which is to be referred with from a textbook or from say from Google and then submit it, definitely you are going to face what you call as an academic offense or academic theft if you do plagiarism, because there are softwares which actually checks plagiarism in a document, or there are softwares available which checks for the same kind of a document. It can be any kind of file. When I say document, it need not be a Word file alone. It can be any kind of data available which is already been presented or not, or which is already available or not in the Google or say in the internet. So that if it is already available, that is considered to be an academic offense. So beware when you do such things in your future study areas. There are two types of plagiarism: intentional plagiarism, that is you are knowingly doing it, and unintentional plagiarism where you are not aware of the the problems or the effects happening over there. Now intentional is copying others' work. I don't have to say. Each time when I read that, I don't know, I can point out certain people among yourself, which is happening. So whether you intentionally do or unintentionally do, you are doing plagiarism. Okay. Anyway, borrowing and buying assignments, cut paste from electronic resources, downloading essays, text from the internet and presenting as our own work. These are important points to be remembered because they can ask you the description of intentional plagiarism. Now let's watch and see or read what is unintentional plagiarism. Not knowing how to acknowledge or incorporate sources of information through proper paraphrasing, summarizing and quotation. That means you actually take some kind of a paragraph from another person's phrase or say sentence, but then you forget to give the credit to them. So there you are actually doing an unintentional plagiarism. You know it's not your work, but then you already copy pasted. You should say credit goes to. You might have seen in some YouTube channels and all, where whenever they do such thing, they will always give the disclaimers and everything, isn't it? Yes. Then careless copying or cutting and pasting from electronic databases. It is without bothering about from where you're doing and all. That is done. Anyway, that is cannot be considered as unintentional. First one is quite convincing. Second one, quoting excessively from the net. Failure to use your own voice. Now, if you wanted to actually avoid plagiarism, that means you actually wanted to get help from Google, but you don't want to be caught for doing plagiarism, then you should be using your own ideas first. That means if somebody asks you to present something, it should be your own ideas. You can always take influence, take the influence from the existing resources you have, but you have to manipulate the sentences when you're presenting it. Cite, that is spelling is, cite the sources, correct. When someone else's ideas are used, always acknowledge the sources. That is, if you're using, like, say, as Shakespeare said, to be or not to be. So you are actually quoting Shakespeare's, one sentence. So it's fine. Like that, if you're using some other people's ideas in any of your presentations, so even in your project or in your program, if you're using, be say from where you're taking from. If it is already told, then there's no need of worry. Even in the film field, you might have always seen, cases dealing like this. It is one person's story has been already stolen by another person, and then they claim to be them. I mean, it's theirs. So this is very important if you are actually inspired from some other people's idea. So then rewrite other ideas in your own words. Yeah, that is what normally college students do, including me when I was a student. I used to rewrite others' ideas in my own words. Means then it won't be actually looking like a plagiarism. That everybody will do, isn't it? That means when you present, especially when you present something, a thesis, when you present, or a project idea, you present a synopsis, some words from your acknowledgement section and all, you have to do with that. Otherwise, there it is very important. Then take careful notes. Careful notes means, yeah, even if you copy paste, as I used to say, when you are in 11th standard, you can actually use, if Hari is using A as a variable name, then Ben can use actually, A1. So I will not understand. Understood, no? That's one way of avoiding plagiarism. Hope you got it. Then develop your writing skills. That part is because when you are supposed to submit any kind of assignments in the form of a written document, then your reading skill and your writing skill, only if these two are improvised in a particular level, and that's the reason why your English teachers are training you. I have to tell them they train you very well, because when they train you and when you develop a skill of writing, the kind of plagiarism in your documents will be very less. And I have a, what you call full-fledged example here itself, who is writing, the notes and everything by herself without actually having this plagiarism effect. Now let's move on to the next one, that is called software license. Software license we all know, but then what is a definition for that? We have to say it's a document. It's actually a written disclaimer again that provides legally binding guidelines to the person who holds it for the use and distribution of software. I have written something about software license in that word itself, and then is where we are right now talking. See this one. Copyright is coming, okay? Copyright is a legal term used to declare and prove who owns the intellectual property. Licensing is a legal term used to describe the terms under which the people are allowed to use the copyrighted material. Whichever is most convenient to you, that you can use as a definition, okay? As I used to say about our definition. So this requires no better further explanation. It typically provides end users with the right to make one or more copies of the software without violating copyrights. That means they might have given some guides and regulations to use the software. So accordingly only you can use. Otherwise, suppose if you are using that software and for 1 year only you have the license, then definitely for next year you have to renew it. Then you have to pay the amount. That is one way of identifying the laws, rules and regulations. It also defines the responsibilities of the parties entering into the license agreement. This is the one we are using. May impose restrictions on how the software can be used. Again, for how many times or what all sections are there. If you're paying to only say half or half amount, how much of the software can be used, etc., etc., etc. Software licensing terms and conditions usually include fair use of the software and limitations of liability, warranties, and disclaimers and protections. So these are the rules and regulations followed. They have the limitations of liability, warranties, and disclaimers and protections. Benefits. What is the first benefit? Since you have a licensed software, you can always update it. That is not mentioned here. So using unlicensed software is against the law. So that is why we definitely use a licensed software. The right software license can save our money. Yeah. If you wanted to actually install an antivirus software, they say that is software experts say you have to purchase a licensed one, because then only you can actually catch hold of all the the latest viruses built up. We can receive around the clock license support. Okay, so it was like, any kind of help required from the authorities, or the person or the company who is providing the license can be received every time, 24 hours. Okay, that's the way. Now comes the next one, that is software copyright. We just saw the difference in it. It is used by the software developers or software companies. Proprietary software, another kind of software, it is coming as the next section, don't worry, so we'll discuss there. So it is used by the software companies or different kinds of softwares to prevent unauthorized copying of their softwares. So license, again I'm going to that this particular section where copyright is a legal term used to declare and prove who owns the intellectual property, the code, the text, the ideas, everything. Licensing, such as software licensing, is a legal term used to describe the terms under which people are allowed to use the copyrighted material. Only the copyright owner can enter into a license agreement. Don't forget that. Okay. Let's continue with what we were talking. So this is, I hope it is clear to you. Free and open source licenses also rely on copyright law to enforce their term. Free and open source means freely available, like Python. So reason for copyright our software. Our work is an asset. What we are doing as a project is an asset. So we can protect our rights if you are having a copyright. It protects our software structures, it protects software code, sequencing and organization, and it enhances protection against license agreement. So what is licensed software, what is software copyright, both should be understood. Both are having a definition also, either from that Word document you can write it, or from here you can write it. If you want a better definition, you should tell me. Okay, now the same thing is just displayed once again in a proper manner in another way here. Copyright and licensing, difference. Copyright is a type of intellectual property, and licensing is a kind of risk control measure. I think the word sentence which I just in a Word document which I have written is better than this, but still we are just reading and going. So copyright is a type of intellectual property protection, and licensing is a kind of risk control measure that can be applied to control copyright law's exposure. So the licensor can grant permission that usually takes the form of a licensing agreement. I don't think this is actually, for me itself is very boring. So I am not recommending this sentence for you. You can think about this again. So with that, we can wind up our first video of this week. Okay. So this is regarding that. So discussed plagiarism, discussed software license and copyright. Now we are going to deal with the next video about your different kinds of softwares, that is open source softwares, proprietary softwares, etc. So thank you.